I flew in from Orlando, and back in April, I got a phone call, and it was catering. And I had known about the Shrine of the Eternals, and Eddie always said, anytime you're about to go into a museum, your day's numbered. Well, you might be wondering a few things. I like to do some storytelling like the king. I brought him with me. I wanted to grant him his last wish, to be buried underneath home plate in Dodger Stadium. And I asked him, why would you want to be buried at home plate and not on the pitcher's mound? I don't know if many of you remember the game when he actually struck out 6 of the greatest sluggers of all time in Dodger Stadium. Wills, McCovey, Mays, Robinson, Killebrew, who am I leaving off? And Maury Will. And feeling well. And then we lived in the San Diego area for 3 months out of the year because we were on tour for 8 to 9 months, sometimes never knowing where we were going to end up. And so I said, hey, Pete's doing a performance down here. I've never met him. I'd like to meet him. So he brought us up, and Pete said to the king, you know, when you put out all that PR of all those sluggers, how come you didn't put me down? You struck me out twice. King said, Pete, you weren't a slugger at the time. How many people get by with that, right? But he would say, Steve and I and Terry have been trying to work with the Dodgers to actually maybe create a display. And I have to tell you, Eddie died a little over 6 years ago, day after my father. And it's a little difficult these last 6 years, but baseball always kept me going. I appreciate this. I'm Title IX. Men sometimes don't like that. But when I was 9 years old, I wanted to become the first Detroit Tiger player. And then my dad took me to see a king in his court. And of course, I was on his shoulder, standing room only. And that's when I decided I've got to do something with my life. So I started looking with king in his court, all in the South, and raising money for charity. That's the one thing that aggravates me with Major League Baseball players that do not sign for children. They made all the money. The king never turned down anyone for an autograph, including until the day he died. Even his doctor asked him for an autograph. Properly in LA. And I happen to be from Detroit. I don't tell many people that, especially after the headlines. But I used to go to the stadium, and I knew Willie Horton and Al Kaline and Norm Cass. And my dad used to take me to the bar after the game when the guys would tell stories and play pool. And I sat and listened, and I got to meet them. Well, they still run the Detroit Tigers. Willie Horton, he's a little under the weather, and Al Kaline. And if I can't get the LA Dodgers to work with me, then I feel proper that since I decided to spend the rest of my life helping children and senior citizens through the game of ball, including the handicapped children, and the said, we'll let you play anybody and anywhere you want to go. Well, at that time in Canada, it was all gravel. We're not any paved roads way back then. And that's when he started to work with the U.S. government through being as an ambassador for the USIA program. We always played for MWR, Morale, Welfare, and Recreation. Eddie didn't believe to make money off of the troops. We were there to entertain them and give them something to remember home by. So in 2006, I called the Yankees, a few people I know, and I said, look, I need you to get some T-shirts, hats, souvenirs for our troops down in Gitmo. And then he said, well, when do you want them? I said, tomorrow. Well, if it's anything clear to Jack Navy Station and get to Gitmo takes a lot of doing. But we got there. Well, the king really was a jarhead, and he hadn't walked in 6 years. There was no way he was going to allow anybody in the Navy to carry him up the stairs. I bottom free. You wasn't going to have a heart attack when you got up there. And then once all was said and done, the director behind us wanted us to visit with them some. And there were spies on the plane. I mean, this was the real deal. And then they said, well, we got a Delta infomercial, we're making it time. And I said, oh, wait a minute, I got the DVD. You know, can we put that in? It's a lot better, you know, lessen the tension. So we did. So the stewardess comes over to me and she goes, here's the mic. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, for your viewing pleasure, how carny that we were. And of course, everybody applauded. And when we disembarked, the most incredible thing I ever saw in my life was that all of the soldiers that had their M16, they put them down on the ground, and I have pictures of them, four men, carrying the king down in his wheelchair, step by step, with our USA flag on the side of the wheelchair. And then when we got down there were probably about 20 other soldiers, and they put their guns down because they said, "Hail to the king." DVD for the grand opening of the communist airport. That's pretty good. Be careful for what you wish for, though. And then, of course, I don't know if you know, but Eddie not only played softball, and he hated that word, by the way. He called it basketball. And Ted Williams told him he called it kitten ball. He knew about you. Well, if anybody was that, you'd say, well, what do you have to say? He said, no, I know what that FAY-ner's all about. It isn't his great pitching. He's got 4 great batters back to back to back. If I did eat Jeremy DiMaggio, wouldn't it be any kind of antique too? Think about that one. And then we played NFL teams. We played hockey.